Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, maybe I'm the problem? Not because you did something terrible, not because someone gave you a convincing argument, but because somehow, after talking to them, you started doubting yourself. You were excited about something, now you're questioning it. You were confident about a decision. Now you're wondering if you're being foolish. You were proud of your progress. Now you're wondering if you're becoming arrogant. And the strange thing is, nothing about the situation actually changed. Only your perception of yourself changed. Sometimes that's accidental. But sometimes, when you're dealing with someone who feels deeply threatened by your confidence or independence, making you doubt yourself can become a way of restoring psychological control. Because a confident person is difficult to manipulate. A person who trusts their judgment is difficult to steer, and someone who no longer needs constant approval is much harder to keep psychologically beneath you. So the question becomes, what happens when someone's insecurity makes them uncomfortable with your confidence? The interesting thing is that psychological doubt rarely begins with, "You are wrong." It can be much more subtle. "Are you sure? I don't know if that's a good idea. You're probably overthinking this. Do you really think you're ready? That's not how I see you." None of these sentences are automatically toxic. Sometimes they're genuine concern. Sometimes they're useful questions. That's why discernment matters. The problem appears when the pattern becomes consistent. Every ambition is questioned. Every boundary is challenged. Every achievement is qualified. Every confident decision is reframed as arrogance. Eventually you begin doing something dangerous. You start consulting their opinion before trusting your own. And that's where influence becomes psychological dependence. One of the oldest ways to introduce doubt is the backhanded compliment. "You actually look good. You're doing pretty well. I'm surprised you pulled that off. You've changed, in a good way, I guess." There's praise on the surface, but underneath it is a tiny reduction. You're given approval with a little piece of uncertainty attached. And if it happens often enough, you begin waiting for the second half. You accomplish something. You're no longer simply proud. You're waiting to discover whether someone else considers it impressive. That's how external validation quietly takes over. Your achievement still belongs to you, but your emotional interpretation of it starts belonging to someone else. Another tactic is making you question your readiness. You want to start something. Maybe wait. You want to apply for the opportunity. Do you really think you're qualified? You want to leave an unhealthy situation. Maybe you're being too emotional. You want to set a boundary. You're overreacting. Sometimes waiting is wise. Sometimes you really aren't ready. But there's a difference between someone helping you assess a decision and someone repeatedly teaching you to distrust your own judgment. The insecure person may not need to stop you completely. They only need to make you hesitate. Because hesitation creates dependence, and dependence makes control easier. Then there is the past. Your past can be used in two very different ways. Someone who cares about you can remind you of your mistakes so you don't repeat them. But someone trying to weaken your confidence may use your past differently. Every new ambition gets connected to an old failure. Remember what happened last time. Every new opportunity becomes evidence that you might fail again. You tried something like this before. Every confident decision becomes an invitation to reopen an old mistake. Don't get too excited. Your history becomes a cage, and eventually you stop seeing your past as something you survived and start seeing it as evidence of who you're destined to remain. One of the most confusing accusations can be, you've become arrogant, and sometimes you really have changed. Success can inflate anyone. That's why self-awareness matters. But ask yourself, did you become arrogant? Or did you simply stop apologizing for existing? Did you become selfish? Or did you finally establish boundaries? Did you become distant? Or did you stop chasing people who constantly disrespected you? Did you become difficult? Or did you become less available for manipulation? Those distinctions matter, because someone who benefited from your insecurity may interpret your confidence as hostility. When you stop bending, they may accuse you of becoming rigid. When you stop explaining, they may call you secretive. When you stop seeking approval, they may call you arrogant. Sometimes your growth doesn't change their opinion of you. It changes their access to you. Another way to create doubt is to attack your motives. You help someone. You just want attention. You succeed. You just want people to admire you. You become disciplined. You're trying too hard. You set boundaries. You're punishing people. You become ambitious. You're obsessed with money. Notice what happens. They don't have to disprove what you accomplished. They simply reinterpret why you did it. And suddenly, you find yourself defending your intentions instead of enjoying your progress. That's a psychological diversion. You're no longer discussing what happened. You're defending who you are. Eventually, you may notice that you're spending an extraordinary amount of time explaining yourself, why you made the decision, why you changed, why you're busy, why you're ambitious, why you don't want to go, why you said no, why you chose someone, why you left someone, why you want something different. And here's the uncomfortable question. Who decided you needed permission? Explanation can be healthy, but over-explanation can become a symptom of insecurity. You start believing that every decision requires a courtroom defense. And the more you explain, the more opportunities someone has to challenge each sentence. Sometimes the healthiest sentence is simply, "This is what I've decided." This is where the real danger begins. You stop trusting your first instinct. Before making a decision, you think, what will they say? Before celebrating, will they think I'm showing off? Before setting a boundary, will they get angry? Before pursuing an opportunity, what if they think I'm unrealistic? You have started carrying another person's voice inside your head, and they don't even have to be present anymore. That's how psychological influence works at its deepest level. The person no longer needs to control the room. Their opinion has moved into your mind, and once that voice is inside your head, it can become your own inner critic. You don't need anyone to say, "You're not ready." You say it. You don't need anyone to say, "You're becoming arrogant." You say it. You don't need anyone to remind you of your failures. You remember them perfectly. The external criticism has become internal dialogue, and this is why psychological independence matters. You must learn to separate what I actually believe from what I've been trained to fear. Those aren't always the same thing. There's another trap. You may start thinking, maybe doubting myself means I'm humble. No. Humility is being willing to learn. Self-doubt is believing you have no right to trust yourself. Humility says, I might be wrong. Insecurity says, I'm probably wrong. Humility asks for feedback. Insecurity requires permission. Humility can admit mistakes. Insecurity can become obsessed with them. These look similar from the outside, but psychologically, they're completely different. This is where Jung's concept of the shadow becomes particularly useful. The shadow contains parts of ourselves we struggle to acknowledge: ambition, envy, anger, desire, vulnerability, even the wish to be admired. Imagine someone who desperately wants confidence, but has never developed it. Then they meet someone who is comfortable in their own skin. Instead of saying, I wish I had that quality, they may experience discomfort. The mind may find it easier to say, there's something wrong with that person. That's where projection can enter. The quality they haven't accepted in themselves becomes something they criticize in you. Your confidence becomes arrogance. Your ambition becomes greed. Your boundaries become selfishness. Your independence becomes rejection, and suddenly you are carrying an accusation that may have originated somewhere else. Confidence can be particularly provocative to an insecure person, because confidence doesn't ask, "Am I allowed?" It simply acts. You say no, you leave, you apply, you build, you speak, you decide. You don't need everyone to agree. And someone who has built their identity around approval may find that deeply uncomfortable. Your behavior exposes an alternative. Maybe I could live differently too. And that possibility can be inspiring or threatening. It depends on whether someone is willing to confront themselves. So how do you break the cycle? Start by noticing how often you feel the need to defend yourself, not because you should become cold, but because constant defense can reveal that you've accepted someone else's frame. If someone says, "You're selfish," you don't always need a 30-minute presentation proving you're generous. If they say, "You're arrogant," you can quietly ask yourself whether it's true. If it isn't, you don't need to litigate it. Let your behavior speak over time, because the more secure you become, the less desperate you become to correct every misunderstanding. Second, build an internal standard. Instead of asking, "Do they approve?" ask, "Does this align with my values?" Instead of, "Do they think I'm successful?" ask, "Am I becoming better?" Instead of, "Do they think I'm selfish?" ask, "Am I treating people fairly?" Instead of, "Do they think I'm good enough?" ask, "Am I living honestly?" This changes everything. Because you stop outsourcing your identity, other people's opinions become information, not instructions. And here's the part nobody likes hearing. Sometimes the person questioning you is right. Sometimes you've actually become arrogant. Sometimes your ambition has become obsession. Sometimes your boundaries have become walls. Sometimes you're using growth to avoid accountability. That's why psychological maturity requires something more difficult than simply ignoring criticism. It requires examining it. Ask, is there truth here? Is there a pattern? Would someone I trust say the same thing? What evidence do I have? And if the answer is, they're right, change. That's strength. But if you've examined yourself honestly, and the criticism still doesn't fit, you don't have to wear it. One of the hardest forms of freedom is accepting that someone may never understand you. They may believe you're arrogant. Let them. They may believe you've changed. You have. They may believe you're too ambitious. Perhaps you are. Examine it. Correct what is true. Release what isn't. You don't need unanimous agreement about who you are. That's impossible. There will always be someone who misunderstands you. The question is, do you misunderstand yourself because they misunderstand you? That's where the real danger lies. And then something changes. You make a decision. And you don't immediately call someone for approval. You achieve something, and you don't need someone else to validate it. You receive criticism, and you examine it without collapsing. Someone disagrees, and you remain calm. Someone misunderstands, and you don't panic. Someone leaves, and you don't automatically assume you were wrong. This is psychological independence, not believing you're always right, but knowing that being wrong doesn't destroy you. That's the difference. A secure person doesn't need certainty. They need the ability to trust themselves enough to correct course. Here's something worth remembering. Your confidence is not their emergency. You don't have to become smaller because someone feels insecure. You don't have to hide your progress. You don't have to apologize for becoming more capable. And you don't have to make yourself less interesting, less successful, less ambitious, less independent, just so someone else can feel comfortable. Be humble, be kind, be accountable. But don't confuse kindness with surrender. Compassion doesn't mean carrying someone else's insecurity on your back. Maybe someone once told you, you're not capable. Maybe someone made you feel foolish for having ambition. Maybe someone constantly reminded you of your mistakes. Maybe someone made you feel guilty whenever you became independent. Maybe someone only seemed comfortable when you were struggling. But remember this: someone else's perception of your limits is not a measurement of your potential. They may have known the old you. They may have helped you once. They may even have loved you. But none of that gives them ownership over who you become. Your past is information. It is not a prison sentence. And notice the difference when you're around secure people. You tell them your idea. They ask questions. You tell them your success. They celebrate. You make a mistake. They tell you honestly. You set a boundary. They respect it. You become more confident. They don't suddenly need to become smaller. They don't need you insecure in order to feel secure themselves. They can disagree with you without diminishing you. They can correct you without humiliating you. They can celebrate you without competing with you. Those relationships feel different. You leave conversations with them thinking, I can become better. Not, maybe I should become smaller. Maybe that's the real test of personal growth. Not whether everyone around you approves, but whether you can grow without becoming cruel and become confident without becoming arrogant. Whether you can hear criticism without automatically believing it. Whether you can reject criticism without becoming defensive. Whether you can apologize when you're wrong without surrendering your entire sense of self. And whether you can hear someone say, I don't like who you're becoming, without immediately thinking, then I must be wrong. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. Your job isn't to blindly believe either side. Your job is to know yourself well enough to investigate. Eventually, you stop trying to prove who you are. You don't need everyone to understand your decisions. You don't need everyone to celebrate your success. You don't need everyone to agree with your boundaries. You don't need to convince people that you've changed for the better. You simply live, you work, you learn, you make mistakes, you correct them, you grow. And somewhere along the way, you realize the person who once made you question yourself no longer has the same power. Not because you defeated them, but because you stopped using their opinion as a mirror. So if someone keeps making you doubt yourself, don't immediately fight them. Don't immediately believe them either. Investigate. Ask yourself, is there truth in what they're saying? Is this concern or control? Is this feedback or humiliation? Is this love or an attempt to keep me dependent? Is this person helping me grow or becoming uncomfortable because I am growing? And then ask the most important question. Who am I when I stop trying to earn their approval? Because that person may be the version of you you've been trying to meet all along. You don't need to become perfect. You don't need to become invulnerable. You don't need to stop listening. You simply need to stop handing other people the authority to define you. Listen, reflect, correct yourself when necessary, and then keep moving. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do when someone wants you to doubt yourself is not to prove them wrong. It's to trust yourself enough to find out. Trust yourself enough to keep growing. Have you ever had someone make you question yourself just as you were becoming more confident? What did they do? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoy uncovering the hidden psychology behind human behavior, subscribe to Stoic Infinity.